Alright, lads, I'm back. So, it's been a while since I've done one of these again. Um, yeah, no excuses this time around. I was kind of busy, I guess that's what I always say, and it's kind of true, but also kind of half-assed. I was just getting some milk, as per usual, and yeah. So, um, also I was sick again, so fuck that. Holy shit, my immune system is non-existent. Also, I have like pimples for some reason. My body is hitting puberty again. Uh, yeah, I really got the worst of both worlds. I look like a teenager. Um, I have acne, and nevertheless, my back hurts. So I'm a boomer and a child in one. So that is great news. But enough of that. So there were a bunch of topics floating around in my head, and I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to be this video to be about, right? So what I decided on is, you know what? I have all these like solo topics and stuff like that that I definitely also want to catch up on, I don't really I like don't elaborate on my on like the topics I want to talk about, but I have like the just like one sentence or whatever, like a general statement, and then that's like my topic, and that's like okay, that's something that I want to talk about, right? Um, so this time around, I thought maybe a little bit earlier than last year, but kind of, the year is approaching its end, and if you watched my video from last year, I did a New Year's rant, and where I basically was whining about like, oh, like everything fucking sucks. The year was over so quickly. Everything is bad. This year, I could essentially do the same thing over again because, well, the year is fucking over again. I feel like I haven't achieved anything this year, and I'm still fucking lonely. I'm still depressed as fuck, and everything is horrible. So I could just essentially just like a broken record, just repeat what I said in my previous video. But I thought, you know what, that would be kind of lame. So this time around, something a tiny bit different. So um, I will do something that I haven't done. I don't know, basically ever on this channel. And I don't, feel the need to make it a common reoccurrence. But in this video, I wanted to be a little more optimistic, I guess, and a little more, because I thought about it, and right now I feel like I could do it again. I could do another video where I'm like, you know what, my life fucking sucks. Everything is so unfair. Boo hoo, poor me, right? And don't worry, I will do that a lot on this channel. Still like in the future as well. I want to continue making these videos, and I will continue whining in these videos like a little bitch, right? That is something that will always be a part of this channel, probably, maybe, or hopefully not. With something, if things get better at some point, if they do, and that's a good way to kind of go into what I wanted to talk about. So I've spent the last years thinking that something just will change. And I've talked about this, right? And I know that it's a wrong mindset, but for some reason I just couldn't get rid of it. I just couldn't shake it off. It was always, no matter what I did, no matter how I started to try to approach things, there was always this thought in my mind that I somehow, that things just had to get better without, all that. Obviously, that I still needed to put in the effort, but that by some like grace of God, um, things will just turn out better, right? And every year, I kind of kind of um, was, I reminisced about the year and said like, oh, everything's bad and stuff, and then I was kind of, there was still always this kind of hope in the back of my mind, like, hey, next year is gonna be different, or maybe not necessarily different, but there is a chance that next year I'm just gonna be lucky and some good thing happens, right? This time around, I'm not gonna do that, but I'm still gonna do something different because, yeah, actually, the previous years, although I did secretly hope that something good would just happen naturally, which obviously naturally didn't happen. Um, yeah, I started. I still, even though I had this hope in the back of my mind, I was getting a little bit pessimistic, I guess, and I guess that is really what it all comes down to. And this video also comes down to. I've always been rather pessimistic, right? I was always, unless there was like genuine reason to believe that something would go well, then I wouldn't assume that it would go well, right? But this time around, we're gonna do it differently. Who would have thought that I could have actually, do something different? And maybe it's just a quick, like, uh, kind of, yeah, next year I'm gonna do stuff different kind of thing. I've never really did something like this in my life before. Um, but I think this time around, I'm actually gonna do something like that, where I'm saying like, hey, next year I'm gonna do something different, right? So do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that every year, every new year that came across was always kind of a new low point in my life, and I always thought like, couldn't get any worse, and then it did get worse, and then I just started to get really pessimistic because I thought like, okay, then I guess next year is gonna be bad again, and lo and behold, that's what I thought last year, and yeah, this year was really fucking bad, and maybe even the worst of all of them. So that's not good, right? But again, I want to approach this a little bit differently. Why? Because I feel like, again, I'm gonna whine a lot. I know that I'm repeating myself, but I feel the need to really clarify, um, also to myself, because I really need to process this in my mind. I will whine about things, um, a lot, and going forward, that will still be an integral part of the channel. But today, even if it's just today, I'm gonna say, you know what? No, not this time around. Not this time around. I will say, I want to, next year is gonna be bad and terrible and whatnot, because I feel like the reason why I don't want to do that, is because I feel like it's so easy. I feel like I've just made it easy for myself, saying like, you know what, next year is gonna be bad, and the year after that is also gonna be bad, and everything's just bad, and everything will just be bad and continue to happen in a way that isn't favorable to me, right? And even though, empirically speaking, from like the last years, from the point of view of like the last years, there might be some truth to that. That in the last years, things didn't really get better, right? So it would make sense to assume, I guess, that next year is also not going to be better. But this time around, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to say, you know what? Next year is going to be. I'm just going to say it. Next year is going to be the best year of my life. Maybe excluding childhood, because my childhood was pretty fucking banger. So, maybe excluding that. But I'm telling you this much: the next year will be the best year I had in. Let me see. How old am I? How many years have I been skin walking this planet? Uh, the next year will be the best year since 2016. I don't know, just like a rough number, right? Everyone has like a mental kind of understanding of like when things went to hell for them, right? Uh, I'm just gonna say 2016. That even though that might not be accurate at all, because but like basically from my early from my late youth to like early adulthood, right? So I'm just gonna reference that kind of frame in time. So this year will be better than all the last years, right? I'm just gonna say it now. And I don't have any proof for that, right? That's like the best thing ever. That's like the best thing ever about making these videos. Like I just make it the fuck up. I just make it the fuck up. Like whatever I say doesn't have to make any sense. I can just say whatever the fuck I want. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm saying the next year is gonna be a fucking banger of a year. Even though there is no reason for me to believe that this will be the case, right? There is no fucking reason for me to believe that. Um, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm falling like in a temporary state of mania or whatever. But that's okay because again, I feel like it's so fucking easy to always be like so pessimistic and depressed and say like, you know what? It's not gonna work out. It's not gonna this. It's not gonna that. And usually I'm like the kind of this kind of person, right? I'm like the straight guy, like not straight and sexual, but like in a comedic duo, the straight man, right? They're like the guy who's like, well, actually, that's not the way it works, you know. Like that's always me. I'm always like, if someone tells me like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna drive a Lambo next year, then I'm like, how are you gonna pull that off, right? And usually that is the role I fit myself in, but not this time around. This time around, I'm gonna say, fuck that. This year is gonna be different. And not because I'm hoping that secretly like some magic power or whatever is gonna, like suddenly the girl of my dreams drops from the sky, and I'm finding like a box or whatever with like $1 million in it or whatever. No, this the next year will be different because of me, because I'm gonna make it different, because I'm just gonna. I just got that dog in me. You know what I mean? Like I'm just fucking done sitting here every year for the same fucking reason and saying like, oh, you know what? It's not gonna be better. It's not gonna work out, right? And you obviously only know like my last year end or whatever. But that's been like my life for like the last at least 5 years, right? And I'm just fucking done with it. I just conceptually at least, I just don't want to. I just don't feel like doing this again, right? And again, like obviously, whatever whatever happens happens, and I don't fucking. Truth be told, I don't fucking know if the next year will really, truthfully be as great as I make it out to be or whatever, right? But for the first time in my life, I just feel like I get it. I get it why people are optimistic. Not necessarily because they 100% from the bottom of their heart are completely certain that things will be good, but because sometimes it's just easier, and sometimes being really pessimistic is also just whack as hell. Like I could tell you about like how bad things are gonna be, and I I might even be right, but it's like it's like playing like a lottery or whatever, and saying like, oh, or like rolling a dice and saying like, oh, you know what, this is like the number I'm gonna get is probably gonna be um smaller than 6, right? If you roll a dice and say like, oh, you know what, the I'm gonna roll a number now that is gonna be smaller than 6. That's like, well, congratulations. It's like, I don't know like the percentage in odds, but like, it's pretty fucking likely that it's gonna be less than 6, right? But that's not gonna be impressive. If you roll like a 4 or whatever, then everyone will be like, yeah, well, guess fucking what? That's like the most likely scenario that you're correct. But saying like, you know what, I'm rolling a six now, and then you actually roll a six, then everyone will be like, yo, what the fuck, man? This guy called it. Like, holy shit, guy's actually nutty with it. So that's what I'm gonna do, right? Because even if I fail, like, I don't have anything to lose. What have I got to lose? Another fucking year that I'm just gonna spend and think like, oh my god, man, it was such a shit year again or whatever. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't make a fucking difference what I say, right? But weirdly enough, because that is the case, I also feel weirdly like liberated and feel like, you know what? What if I can just be optimistic then? What if I'm just fucking optimistic for no reason? But what if I just, what if I just say that I'm gonna do it, And who's gonna stop me? And then if I prove you wrong or myself wrong, I'm gonna feel like a fucking MVP and not like the same fucking loser I've been like for so many years now. So yeah, that's kind of the whole gist of it, right? I'm just, shit will always happen, right? No, there isn't no such thing as like a perfect life. And even my childhood, even though I think, and even though I like to reminisce about my childhood was also not perfect, right? There were also moments where I felt empty and lonely and shitty, but I still like to reminisce about it because you know what? At the end of the day, I had fucking fun in my childhood, and I want to do it again. I don't want to be depressed every single day anymore. Like, obviously not, right? But I feel like too long. I felt almost comfortable with it in a way that like, you know, being sad and being lonely and shit. Like, it fucking sucks. Don't get me wrong. It's like the worst thing ever. But that's like the paradoxical thing, right? It's like when you admit to yourself that you feel like that, it's so easy just to stay in that place and say like, you know what? People just don't like me anyway. There is just no point. I'm just gonna be lonely. Even though the pain that comes from that, from accepting that and just staying alone in your room all day, all night, every single day, every single week, even though that pain is so much stronger and harder to bear than just, actually just pushing yourself for once and doing something that challenges yourself, just maybe like going out and, you know, like talking to that girl or whatever the fuck it is, right? Um, it is, even though the pain of like rejection or whatever is not as hard as the pain of just completely shutting yourself off altogether, um, it's still more comfortable, weirdly, right? In a way. And again, I feel like I've also been stuck with it and felt like, you know what, yeah, I'm just not gonna bother anymore because there were times I've tried and it didn't work out. So what is the point? If I'm just gonna be lonely anyway, then I'm just rather gonna be lonely with myself instead of trying to, Faye Valentine said, it's like uh, better to be lonely on your own than to be lonely in a group or something kind of like that, right? But yeah, no, fuck that. That's again, Spike also calls her out on that. Like, you don't want to be alone. You're just afraid of getting hurt, and that is perfectly normal. But you know, the pain that comes with just not even trying anymore is so much. It's so much more painful, and um, I've lived with that pain for a while now. Um, but yeah, I just at least want to fucking try, like, because what have I got to lose? Like, looking back at my last months, for example, I've been feeling so fucking terribly miserable that I don't have anything to lose. Like, even with all the rejections of the world, and even if every bitch on this world rejects me, it's like even that would probably still be a more preferable outcome than just not even trying anymore. Because then I can at least say, you know what, I'm a fucking MVP for at least trying. So this is obviously not strictly about girls and stuff, but it is a part of it, right? obviously. Um, and yeah, uh, I just don't wanna, I just don't wanna do that shit anymore. So that's why this time around I'm just gonna be a bit different, I guess. I'm just gonna say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not. Maybe there will be a New Year's rant. That's something I'm not quite sure about because it is not quite New Year's yet. And maybe there will be a video where I'm just once again gonna rant about all the thing and getting it off my system of like how monotonous, of how like boring essentially my life was again for this whole year, and how I've again felt like I haven't really made any progress, and this and that and this and that. But in this video, that's not what I wanted to talk about. In this video, I just wanted to say, fuck it, fuck everything, fuck everyone, but I don't wanna, yeah, I just, I just feel like I've been, um, docile for too long, and I guess, like, where's my fucking drive, bro? Like, I'm just gonna sit all day on my fucking ass and feel so terrible. Like, if the pain is really that much, then it doesn't make any sense to like waver in that pain. You know what I mean? Like, if you touch a fire and it really fucking hurts, then you pull your hand away, right? If you don't pull your hand away, then maybe it just doesn't hurt enough, you know. And obviously, I'm not downplaying, how like when people are depressed that they just don't want to do anything at all, right? But what I can also tell you is that 95% of the time, so pretty much most of the times, almost all of the times, it feels worse to not do anything than to do something, right? Even though you might feel like, oh, I just don't feel like doing anything right now. I'm just gonna, maybe I'm just gonna feel better after some time for myself. And to some degree, maybe that works, right? But there comes a point where no, it's not gonna be better if you, oh, you've been sitting around on your ass alone in your room for the last 1,000 days or whatever. You're really gonna think that if you spend another 500 days alone in your room, that you're suddenly gonna feel better. Like, fuck no, that's just not how it works. So, yeah, like I said, I'm fucking done with that. I I want to take some action, some charge, and again, if it doesn't fucking work out, then like, yeah, I can always go back to sitting alone in my room, right? That's like a feasible option, or not a feasible option, but like I can pretty much always do that, right? I can always drop out of uni, become homeless, and just chill at home, right? Because in Germany, like, even if you're jobless, you can still get money and not have to be homeless and shit, right? So win for me, I guess. Living in a great country, but yeah, that's essentially the gist of it. I can like sit around and hate my life for as long as I can want to, but it's not gonna change anything. And at the end of the day, I feel like I've taken my eyes off my goals for too long. When in reality, there is some stuff that I don't know, frankly, right? I don't, for example, don't know the meaning of life, and I'm an atheist, and I don't really, I haven't really figured it out myself. Like, what is the real purpose? I guess, if there is even such a thing, and just like existentialism and stuff like that, right? There is like some stuff that I don't know, and that I maybe will never know. But there are also a lot of things in my life that make me unhappy. That's like these like kind of like existentialism and this kind of shit, right? It makes you unhappy, right? That's why people invented religion, because it's easier, right? But so though that's like a thing, for example, that from time to time um, makes me sad or whatever. But that's not the only thing, or rather, I would even say that most of the things that make me sad are not these things, but things that are within my control. Like I said, like things like that I am alone, that I feel, lonely, that I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. Those are most of the time the real, or not the real, but like the, those are like, for me, also very big tasks. And I already know what I have to do in these cases. I know what I have to do. I know that I have to, get my ass out there, out of this door that is right there, and just fucking do it. And that's something that I already know. That's not something, the meaning of life. I don't fucking know the meaning of life, but I know that if I want to get some bitches, I need to get the fuck out of this door, or friends, or like a job or whatever, like whatever the fuck it is. I know that I have to leave this fucking door, right? And that is something that I already know. Already know, and as much as I want to avert my eyes from of it, and maybe say like, oh, maybe if I do it, then I'm still not gonna be happy and stuff like that. Maybe, but like at the end of the day, fucking do something, okay? Like if you're watching this, fucking do something, and also to myself, fucking do something. And and most of the time, like I said, you already know where you have to go. Like you're looking at the horizon and you see the way in front of you. You just, you're just scared of taking it, and you start to look around and you start to lose track of what's in front of you. But the way is already there. I think like most of us people who are depressed and stuff like that, they already know what they have to do. Not always necessarily, and maybe there are also times where you feel like you have everything under control and you're still not happy and shit. I know, but I feel like most of the time, you guys and me, we already know. We already know what we have to do. So, pretty simple answer, right? So yeah, that was a long one, but I feel like I got the message across maybe. And yeah, let's just do it. 2024, that's gonna be it, baby. Let's fucking go.